Hi everyone, this is Brad Smith from Bishop's Rowing Club, Cape Town, South Africa. So our next guest speaker is someone who's done over 70 marathons, some of which have been ultra marathons. He is well-respected, well-known sports scientist who has produced many publications, some of which are known as The Law of Running, Waterlogged, Challenging Beliefs, and most recently his Real Meal Revolution, where he talks about the changing beliefs of diet and understanding diets and helping your lifestyle. Now, few of you will know that Professor Tim Noakes, in fact, got into his field of study because of the likes of rowing, and specifically in Cape Town here at UCT. Now, I don't want to give too much away as Prof talks about much of this and he's far better at storytelling than I am, but it's fantastic to have Prof talk about rowing, talk about the factors of rowing and why it is, in fact, the best sport in the world. So over to you, Prof.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim Noakes. Many of you will probably know me as the guy who promoted running and wrote a book called Law of Running. And more recently, perhaps you know me as the guy who promoted this dreadful high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet which got me into all sorts of trouble. But what you don't know is that it all started 50 years ago in 1969 when I joined the UCT Rowing Club. And if I had not joined the UCT Rowing Club, everything that happened subsequently in my life would not have happened. So let me take you back to 1966, when I'm just matriculating from Bishop's. I'm a very average student with no athletic ability whatsoever. But what I do have is I win a scholarship to go and study in America for 1 year at a high school. And I go to the Huntington Park High School and have an unbelievable year. It was a completely life-changing experience for me. And on the last day of the year, as we were going through our graduation ceremony, I asked my best friend, I said, tell me, what sport are you going to play when you go to university? And he said, I'm going to the University of Utah and I'm going to row. In fact, he said, I'm going to do crew because that's the term that they use. And I said, that's a great idea. Maybe I'll do the same. So 6 months later, when I came to Cape Town and registered to study medicine, the first thing I did was to enroll with the rowing club. And we went out and started rowing, and it was very difficult, as it always is. It took me a long time to get some sort of rhythm in the stroke. And while I was there, we were introduced to running, and we used to run from the clubhouse to the stop street at Sekouffle and back again. It was a flat-out 2-mile race, always. And that was my first introduction to quite high-intensity running. But that wasn't really the key moment. The key moment was in July of that year, a guy called Jim Railston came, and believe it or not, I have one of the books that he wrote, and here it is, International Rowing by J.A.N. Railton. And Jim was then the coach to the British Olympic team. So why did he come to Cape Town? I have no idea. Who asked him to come? I was the president of the club. So without the president of the club asking Jim Railton to come and talk to the club, something would not have happened that changed my life. So what happened was, after he'd taken us rowing, we went back to UCT, to one of the lecture halls, and he gave us a lecture on the physiology of rowing. And he went up to the board, and I can see it as if it happened this moment. He drew a y-axis and an x-axis, and on the x-axis he had the distance rowed, 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters, and on the y-axis was your blood lactate level. And he then he made this expansive drawing, and he drew this line which just shot off the graph. And he said, this is what happens when you start rowing. Your lactic acid level shoots up. And he explains why you feel so exhausted at the finish. And he said, and if it went any higher, you'd be dead. So, having never rowed 2,000 meters by that stage, I believed him. And anyway, so what happened was, I can still recall as we walked out the lecture theatre and walked down Jameson Avenue, University Avenue, I said to myself, you mean you can measure something in the blood that predicts how you feel during a rowing race? And I said, that's what I'm going to do for my life. I'm going to study physiology. And the end result was that I completed my medical degree, and my only interest while I was studying medicine was the physiology of human performance and how to optimize it. And that then set me off on the career. And 50 years later, everything I did, I became rather well known in running circles and explaining the physiology of running, because I learned to run and started running in the rowing club. And after I'd finished my rowing career, the first thing I did was decided to run a marathon 3 months later, and a year later ran the Comrades Marathon. And then that just set me off on that career. And I studied human physiology and then sports medicine, but my interest arose because I'd been a rower at the University of Cape Town Rowing Club. And what happened that 50 years ago was absolutely critical. And I would not be sitting in front of you here today telling you about my story if I hadn't gone out and joined the rowing club then.